Hi, and welcome to English-Fabule. Are you learning English? Great. Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
It was late, 11:15 p.m. on December 8, 2025. Inside a warm home in Hachinohe, the Tanaka family was slowly getting ready for bed. Mr. Tanaka sat in the living room reading a book. Mrs. Tanaka was in the kitchen, turning off the lights after washing the dishes. Their young daughter, Hana, was already sleeping peacefully in her own room. The house felt calm and quiet. Then a low rumble started deep underground. It grew quickly, becoming a loud roar. Suddenly, the whole house began to shake. It was not a small movement, but a strong, violent tremor. The floor moved up and down very fast. Pictures on the walls fell to the ground. Glass dishes broke in the kitchen. Hana woke up with a scream. Mr. Tanaka quickly dropped his book. He rushed to grab his wife, pulling her towards the sturdy dining table. They tried to get under it, but the shaking made it hard to move. The noise was terrible and loud. It sounded like a giant train was rushing right through their home. An official earthquake early warning flashed on their television screen. It showed a map of Japan with red lights spreading. A calm voice said, "Earthquake, take cover now." This warning gave people only a few precious seconds. But Mr. Tanaka remembered something strange from earlier in the day. Some people had talked about a different kind of alert. It was an experimental system, they said. It had warned them many minutes before this official alert. Why did only some people get this earlier, mysterious warning? Why not everyone in Hachinohe? This big question stayed in his mind, even as the house continued to shake fiercely. The violent shaking continued for what felt like forever. The whole building groaned and twisted from side to side. It felt like it might break apart at any moment. Dust began to fall from the ceiling, making the air thick. The family held each other tight under the table, closing their eyes. They prayed for the terrifying movement to stop. Every single second felt like a long, painful minute. They truly thought the shaking would never end. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, the loud, terrible noise stopped. The violent shaking ended. An unnatural, deep silence filled the house. No more crashes, no more breaking glass, no more loud rumbling. Only the sound of their own quick, scared breaths. After a moment of complete quiet, a single sound broke the stillness outside. Far away, a siren or an alarm began to wail loudly in the night. The earthquake itself was finally over. But for the Tanaka family, the true and much bigger danger was just beginning. 2. A big shake. The violent shaking finally stopped. An unnatural quiet filled the air, replacing the terrible noise. People in Hachinohe and other cities in Aomori Prefecture slowly began to understand what had happened. This was a very powerful earthquake. Experts later said it was a magnitude 7.5. On Japan's Shindo scale, which measures how strongly people feel the quake, it was an upper 6 in Hachinohe. This meant the shaking was so strong that it was almost impossible to stand. Many people had to fall to the floor or crawl to find safety. The ground moved for more than 30 seconds, even reaching far off Tokyo. Soon after the shaking ended, darkness fell completely. Many towns and cities lost electricity. Power lines were down, leaving streets black. People were scared, but they also needed to see if their loved ones were okay. Cautiously, they stepped outside their homes. They looked at the damage under the dim light of flashlights or phones. Broken glass, fallen objects, and cracks in walls were everywhere. A big worry filled everyone's minds. Would there be more earthquakes? These smaller shakes, called aftershocks, often follow a big one. Their fear was not wrong. Just 19 minutes after the main earthquake, the ground began to move again. A magnitude 5.5 aftershock hit the same area. It was not as strong as the first one, but it still made buildings shake. This fresh tremor confirmed that the Earth was still active and dangerous. A new wave of panic spread. People hugged their children tighter. They wondered when the shaking would truly end. Every small noise, every creak of a building now seemed like a warning. While people tried to call their families and friends and checked their homes for damage, another sound began. It grew louder and louder. It was a sound that no one wanted to hear, but everyone understood. The piercing wail of tsunami sirens started. They rang out all along the northeastern coast of Japan. The danger was not over. A new threat was coming from the sea. 3. The big water. Japan's world-class warning system quickly started. Alerts flashed on every phone and television screen. Urgent messages came on the radio. These alerts showed maps and clear directions. They connected every home to the national response. The messages were clear. A tsunami was coming, and people needed to move fast. The government ordered 90,000 people to evacuate immediately to higher ground. The roads quickly filled with cars and people. Families grabbed their emergency bags and hurried out. Even in the dark, the path to safety was known. It was a fast, urgent move to higher ground. Tension filled the air, but everyone moved with purpose, helping each other. Japan had learned much from the big tsunami in 2011. That event taught the country a hard lesson. For more than a decade, Japan worked tirelessly to prepare. New, strong seawalls were built along the coast. High evacuation towers were ready for people who could not reach hills. Special procedures and plans were made for everyone to follow when danger came. All this work was to protect people from the power of the big water. But a question remained. Japan had prepared for over 10 years. Could all this work truly be enough for the ocean's power? The answer felt uncertain. Far out in the ocean, special sensor buoys found something. They sent a signal back to land. A large wave was moving very fast. It traveled across the deep ocean fast. It was racing towards Japan's coast. Its speed was like a fast airplane. But no one knew its final height when it reached the land. This was a dangerous, unknown secret. 4. People in danger. The big waves from the sea arrived. People had feared a very high tsunami, but it was not as high as the first, worst warnings. Still, the waves were strong enough to cause harm. In Kuji, a port city, the water reached 70 centimeters, almost 3 feet. In Urikawa, it was 50 centimeters high. 40-centimeter waves hit Mutsu and Hachinohe in Aomori. These powerful waters caused damage to buildings and flooded many areas near the coast. 23 people were hurt in the disaster, with one person seriously injured. Most injuries happened because things fell during the strong earthquake. For example, some guests at a hotel in Hachinohe were caught off guard and injured by falling items. A man driving in the town of Tohoku was hurt when his car suddenly dropped into a big hole in the ground. This hole appeared because the ground became soft from the shaking. An old woman in Oirase was struck by a cabinet that fell over. In Goshogawara, another woman was injured by broken things in her house. Also, 2 people fell and were hurt in Tomakomai, Hokkaido. The situation was full of chaos. Brave first responders like firefighters and police worked fast. In Aomori City, 2 fires started, adding more danger. Firefighters quickly moved to put out these blazes. Other rescue teams helped people who were trapped or needed urgent medical aid. The Japanese government acted quickly to help its citizens. Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi created a special team to manage the emergency and assess the damage. Chief Cabinet Secretary Minoru Kihara promised that protecting people's lives was their main goal. They were working hard, doing everything possible. But while the damage on the coast was clear, a hidden, greater danger was being checked. Far from the visible destruction, a silent assessment was underway at 2 of the nation's most sensitive places, the Higashidori and Onagawa nuclear power plants. Their safety was a major concern for everyone. 5. A nuclear fear. After the strong earthquake and the tsunami, attention quickly moved. All eyes turned to Japan's nuclear power plants. There was deep fear, like after the tragic Fukushima event in 2011. People remembered the disaster that happened before. At Higashidori Nuclear Power Plant in Aomori and Onagawa Nuclear Power Plant, engineers worked fast. They did urgent safety checks. These checks were automatic after any big earthquake. The whole nation waited, holding its breath. Everyone hoped for good news, fearing a repeat of the past. After tense hours, the news came. Tohoku Electric Power Company and Hokkaido Electric Power, who run the plants, reported good results. They said no problems were found. All safety systems had worked as they should. Japan's Nuclear Regulation Authority confirmed this. A government official, Chief Cabinet Secretary Minoru Kihara, stated that checks were thorough. He said there was no damage that would affect safety. A collective sigh of relief swept across Japan. However, a new worry began to grow. Scientists started talking about stress triggering. This was a strange idea. They thought that the recent earthquake might have put more pressure on another, even bigger fault line nearby. It was possible this extra pressure could make a second, larger earthquake happen. People heard this term, but did not fully understand its terrifying meaning yet. Then, just as the relief spread, the Japan Meteorological Agency made a stunning announcement. An emergency nationwide press conference would be held at 2 a.m. The reason for this middle-of-the-night meeting was a secret. No one knew why it was so urgent. This sparked wild guesses and a fresh wave of fear among the people. 6. A terrible warning. The clock showed 2 in the morning. Many people across Japan watched their televisions. An emergency press conference began. A high-ranking government official from the Japan Meteorological Agency stood before the cameras. His face was very serious, and his words were carefully chosen. The whole nation listened closely, feeling a deep sense of worry. He delivered a difficult and frightening message. He announced that there was now a higher chance of another powerful earthquake. This new quake, he warned, could be similar to the one that just happened, or even much bigger. He clearly stated it could be a megaquake, with a magnitude of 8 or higher. This very strong quake, he explained, could strike anywhere in the region within the next 7 days. The official then laid out the reasoning for this terrible warning. He spoke about the devastating Tohoku earthquake from 2011. That catastrophic event was a magnitude 9 quake. But crucially, 2 days before it, a large foreshock, a magnitude 7.3, had struck off the coast. The recent December 8th earthquake, which people had just survived, was very similar to that earlier foreshock. This created a haunting parallel, making the current situation extremely worrying for everyone. The agency warned the public, in the worst-case scenario over the next week, we must assume an earthquake similar to the 3.11 disaster. After this alarming announcement, the mood across Japan changed completely. People were no longer just focused on cleaning up and trying to return to normal life. Instead, a new heavy feeling of fear and dreadful anticipation took over. The entire nation shifted its focus from recovery to preparing for a potential new threat. Following the press conference, the government issued an unprecedented aftershock advisory. This special warning went out to 182 towns and cities. These places were across 7 prefectures, from Hokkaido in the north down to Chiba Prefecture, which lies just east of Tokyo. For the next 7 days, the country would have to live on a knife's edge. Every small tremor, every slight shake of the ground could be the beginning of one of the worst natural disasters in modern history. People were urged to review their emergency plans, gather supplies, and stay constantly alert. The official stressed, there is no guarantee such an earthquake will not occur again, so preparedness is essential. The long, anxious week of waiting had truly begun. 7. A history of shakes. The region where the recent earthquake happened, called Sanriku, has a long and scary history of big shakes. Over 100 years ago, in 1896, a very strong earthquake hit this area. It caused a massive tsunami, with waves that rose more than 38 meters high. That was one of the tallest tsunami waves ever seen in Japan. Many people lost their lives that day. Other big earthquakes also shook this coast in the 20th century, for example, a magnitude 8 quake in 1968. These past events constantly remind people how dangerous this part of the country can be, as it sits on a very active part of the Earth's plate boundary. To understand why the government issued such a serious warning, we need to know about the science of these earthquakes. Japan lies where huge pieces of the Earth's crust, called tectonic plates, meet. One plate, the Pacific plate, slowly slides beneath another, the North American plate. This process is called subduction. As the plates move, they often get stuck where they touch, like two rough surfaces trying to rub past each other. This causes a lot of pressure to build up over many years, sometimes even centuries. When this pressure becomes too great, the plates suddenly slip past each other. This sudden, powerful movement is what we call a megathrust earthquake. The recent magnitude 7.5 earthquake occurred due to this process. Scientists explain that one earthquake can sometimes make another one more likely. This is called stress triggering. The energy released by the first quake can push on nearby parts of the fault line. This added stress can increase the chance of another, possibly larger earthquake happening soon after. This is why the Japan Meteorological Agency's warning felt so urgent and scientifically grounded. Looking further ahead, Japan faces an even bigger and always present threat, the Nankai Trough megaquake. This is a very long fault system, stretching about 900 kilometers along Japan's southern coast. Historically, this area has produced extremely powerful earthquakes, some reaching magnitude 8 or even 9. Experts believe there is an 80% chance that a massive Nankai Trough earthquake will strike within the next 30 years. This shows that Japan is always living with the high risk of major seismic events. The science is clear about the danger, and the risk of another big earthquake is undeniable. The special 7-day warning period is now entering its very last day. Only 24 hours remain until the time stated in the warning passes. Across the nation, people wait in a tense silence. They are caught between a strong hope that nothing more will happen and a deep dread of what the ticking clock might bring. 8. The way forward. The 7 days of waiting finally ended. The massive earthquake that many feared did not strike. A huge wave of collective relief washed over the entire nation of Japan. People had lived with deep worry for a full week, but now they could breathe freely again, grateful the tense period had passed. The magnitude 7.5 earthquake of December 8, 2025 was a powerful event. However, it was not the ultimate disaster everyone had prepared for. Instead, it became like a full-scale national drill. It served as a vital seismic reminder for every person and every city. This event tested and proved the strength of Japan's world-class early warning systems. It also showed that the nation's careful evacuation plans worked well under real stress. This earthquake helped Japan remember its unique place on Earth. It reminded everyone that the country lives with constant earthquake risk. The experience pushed people to check their emergency bags again. Families discussed their escape routes to higher ground. Businesses reviewed their safety procedures. Communities showed their ability to work together quickly. This unified action is what some call the collective muscle memory of a nation always ready for disaster. Japan has spent many years building strong defenses. This includes advanced early warning systems, tall seawalls, and special evacuation towers. But the country knows this work is never truly finished. There will always be another big one in the future. Experts are constantly studying the Nankai Trough, for example, which could cause a megaquake. So, the most important lesson from December 2025 is clear. Preparedness is not something you do once and then forget. It must be a permanent and active part of daily life. This constant vigilance is how Japan keeps its people safe. It is an ongoing effort to understand earthquakes better, improve warning systems, and build strong, resilient cities. The memory of the 2011 Tohoku earthquake reminds everyone that this challenge must always be met. What do you think is the most important thing a country can do to prepare for a natural disaster?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.